Hello everyone, welcome back! Hello everyone and welcome to my channel, Student Nursing Australia. My name is Hayley. I am from Perth, Western Australia. I am 30 years old and I am a student enrolled nurse, and currently I'm studying at IHNA, so the Institute of Health and Nursing Australia. I decided to film this little video and kind of just pile all the answers to all of the questions I get asked daily through TikTok, Instagram, and on my YouTube, all of the questions about studying at this school, because I didn't have this information beforehand, so I wish that I did. So I'm kind of glad that I could be the one to give that to you. So if you've come here because you were potentially considering studying your enrolled nursing diploma in general in Australia, this is still going to be informative for you. If you're looking at studying at IHNA, I have to preface this video was not sponsored or anything. No one asked me to do this from the school. It's just that when you publicly, post about your life, people know where I study because I've spoken about it 1,000 times. It's on my page, and I guess people out there Google, they find schools and then they're like, oh, well, maybe I should see if someone has been there, which is what I did, and I just couldn't quite find this information. So I'm currently making myself a coffee, and then I'm going to sit down with you guys and I'm going to hopefully answer all of the questions. And if you still have any after this, feel free to message me or leave a comment below. But yeah, the next 5 or 6 years, this channel is hopefully going to grow a lot with all of my nursing journey stuff, as I'll be going on to my RNs and midwifery. So it's going to be never ending. I love studying, I'm really good at it, I'm excelling in my studies already, and I'm really great at teaching, so I'm hoping I'll be able to teach some of my knowledge along the way, or even give off some tips on tricks on how I study and retain information. So if you think that that's going to be something you're interested in, then like and subscribe. I don't even care whether you like or not really, but at least subscribe to my channel so I know that you're here and I can keep making content for you. Anyway, I'm going to make my coffee and we'll go and sit at the table and have a chat. Okay, I have made my cuppa. I hope you've made one too. So I don't even really know where to start with this. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit. There we go. This is Percy, by the way. He's probably sitting over there waving. Okay, so I am going to start with where I'm studying and why I personally chose to study at IHNA. So IHNA, Institute of Health and Nursing Australia, is run by HCI, which is Health Careers International. I believe there is a campus in Sydney, in Canberra, in Adelaide. Okay, so IHNA have locations in Perth, obviously, which is where I study. They have Melbourne and they have Sydney. Now, I think they have a campus in Canberra which coincides with Sydney, or maybe, oh no, because it says Parramatta. So yeah, I just see sometimes when we get sent through Zoom meetings and stuff, it says for Perth, Sydney, Canberra and Melbourne. So yeah, basically you can be an online student anywhere in Australia and you can choose one of these as your home depot, I guess you could say. Being an online student means you still have to attend for your SBTs, so simulation based training, and your OSCAs, which is observation something clinical assessments. So basically, if you are doing some Google and YouTube research on becoming a student nurse, you will see the word NCLEX, NCLEX, popping up on YouTube videos all the time because it's a lot of American people. Which is why I'm here, because I just couldn't find much of this. You might have also come across Nurse Tani. She is in Australia as well, so she is great. There's a couple of other like med students and whatnot as well, but not doing what we're doing. There's a lot on TikTok, so TikTok is a great place to find people like myself as well. But anyway, so that's the location. So you can sign up at any of them, and basically when it comes to doing your in-person training practicals, obviously you still have to attend placement. They would probably try and find it near wherever you live, but you just do need to know that you will potentially have to go in for practicals. Now, they aren't new. The one thing I get all the time is I've never heard of them before, and now because I'm looking at doing nursing, it keeps popping up. I believe they have been around, I want to say 23 years. That sort of popped up when I was doing my research. What if I see what it says in there about us? I kind of just watched a few videos. Like, the thing is the questions people are asking me, a lot of them I'm like, it literally is on their website. So if you haven't seen it, it means you haven't really done all your research and you just want the answers, which is fine. But I'm the kind of person where, like, I need to know everything as it's happening. So I'll find it first. And if I'm asking someone else, it's because I literally couldn't find the answer. So they are trying to pave a pathway for university level education at their colleges. So they would be like a private, which is what they are, a private training organization. So they're still an RTO, like a registered training organization. But our school announced to us on International Nurses Day this year that as of next year, they will be offering the Bachelor of Science for Nursing, which is really cool, because if I didn't want to do midwifery at the same time, I could stay and go on and do that, which would be amazing. So that's really, really cool. They also coincide with Charles Darwin University. So you may have seen that pop up in your research maybe. We have a lot of students come down from Charles Darwin University to do their practicals at our place. Yeah, which is really cool as well. So there's a little bit of correlation between there. They do international and domestic students. So I am what you would call a domestic student. So I live here in Australia, I study here in Australia. They have a campus in India as well. So they obviously take foreign students, not just Indian students. And they obviously have a place in India. So you can go and obviously do that as well. Basically, the reason I was so drawn to them was, like, the reviews were really great, and I'm going to touch base on that a little bit later as well. The reviews that I seen were great. The people that I'd seen sort of popped up that I'd noticed that had gone there that I reached out to said that they didn't have any issues. They're obviously, like, I'm just gonna obviously name drop because, like I said, no one's paying me to do this video. It's freedom of speech. I can talk about what I want to. I also applied at open colleges and I got offered a place there as well. However, the days weren't going to work for me, even though I've ended up having to change at the last minute anyway. That's a story for another day, but if you know, you know. So at first I was trying to stick with me being able to work Monday, Tuesday, and then study Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So initially open colleges had campus days Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or like Thursday, Friday. And I thought, well, that's perfect. I can still work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, blah, 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 blah. However, it took them a really long time to get back to me. But then when I did speak to them, the guy was amazing and he'd give me all this information, you know, and there's a lot of grants going around from the government at the moment. Yeah, so again, something to really like grab a hold of right now. So, you know, that's obviously another great thing. However, to do that, you have to be a face-to-face student. So you are still only on campus 2 full days a week, plus a half day of like support sessions if you want to attend, but that's up to you. But you really do need that third day to sort of like do your studies and whatnot, because especially if you have kids and a family, it can be a lot. You know, we've got some people in our class that have a bit of experience prior in like biomedicine or studying, you know, health medicine and things like that. So they're like, oh, this is easy, like you'll get through it. And I'm like, that's well and like, that's all well and good for a lot of people. But for people who have never maybe studied at this level before or don't have anything to do with the human body and don't understand anything, it's a lot to learn. It's a really, really big mind boggle. So I personally, and this is my absolute personal opinion, I could not do this online. If it was my only option, then I'm sure I would make it work. And obviously I would attend the Zooms and the lectures online, and I would make sure when it's time to come to Perth to do my practicals, 100% I would be there. But I am a person where, like, if I'm hearing something, I need to ask questions then and there, not save them for later and email someone and go, hey, when you said this, blah, blah, blah. I want to know there and then. I like adult conversation. I love debate. I love, you know, telling stories and sharing experiences, which is why I think our class is doing so well together, because there's just so much of that in our class. So anyway, getting back to how I chose, basically I got an offer from both schools. Open colleges had some grants where it was like free for 2023, but like TAFE, they can still charge tuition. So there's some fees for being on campus and all that sort of stuff. So it was going to be about $6,000 or $7,000 out of pocket. Now, I think they included a set of uniforms for you, but you'd still have to buy your textbooks. So it was going to be about $6 or $7 grand plus $500. And in my head, I was like, that's okay. Like, I assumed I was going to have to pay to become a nurse anyway, so that wasn't out of the blue. But then IHNA got back to me and said, yep, if you can send in proof that you were like born here, you did your primary school here, blah, 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 we'll send you the like land test, so literacy and numeracy test. And as long as you pass that and show us that you can, you know, have the minimal English and whatnot to be able to obviously study, then there should be no problems. And I thought, okay, great, like back to this again, because I tried to get into uni and I failed by 4 points. So anyway, I digress. We're not talking about that. So anyway, the test was really easy. It was, you know, like you did it at home. I think it was timed, but you could use pen and paper or a calculator and stuff if you needed to. So it really wasn't, I didn't find it that hard. It was definitely easier than trying to get into uni, that's for sure. So I sat that, I submitted it. It just said, thank you for submitting. And I was like, you don't tell me straight up if I pass. And then the next day I got a welcome to IHNA offer letter in my email inbox. And I was like, wow, I did it. So I think it is fairly easy to get in, as long as you know English and maths, and English. If English is your first language, then you should have no dramas whatsoever. So basically, once I showed proof of all of those things, I had to then do the application for vocational grant, which they kind of did for me. They just sent me a thing and said, can you go and get this stat deck signed to say that you understand that if you get through and get the grant covered and whatnot, or regardless, just if you do the diploma, you aren't registered at the end of it, you have to register yourself, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. So I went and got all this stuff done. I uploaded everything, submitted it. Basically, from the beginning of the week of me calling them, asking some questions and applying, I was accepted and enrolled by the end of the following week. So like I pretty much knew that week that I was in, but I didn't get my physical like, welcome, you are enrolled, here's your student email address and your password, blah, 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 until the following week. Or I think I got those logins, but like nothing really happened. Like my enrollment wasn't officially processed as they were waiting on like the grant information. Then I got the call saying, congratulations, your grant has been completely covered. I was like, what do you mean? Then they sent me a refreshed offer letter, and it said that the amount owing was $0. And I was like, wait, so like I'm not gonna get there and you're gonna go, oh yeah, like they covered this, but you need to cover this. They said, no, it's completely free. So I was like, perfect. So that was like, you know, they were really good with their communication. It wasn't clear sometimes, like some of the people are foreign and you're gonna get that anywhere you go now. But I would just get off the phone and send an email and they would clarify over email. So that was fine. So that process was great. I am someone, again, like I said, I need to know all of the information now. So I enrolled in March, just after, that's irrelevant. I enrolled in at the end of February, beginning of March. I was in and enrolled, you know, come first, second week of April, ready to go. We'd been on actually coming up to then, so we were leaving for our family holiday on like the 27th of March, and I kind of called them before then and said, hey, look, like we start on the 1st of May. I'm going on holiday until the middle of April. I don't want to miss like an orientation or, you know, like being able to pick up my uniforms or my books and things and bits and pieces. So can I have the information? And this was like the only really annoying thing that I dealt with, was because they were like, yeah, like someone will be in touch with you. Like it's all good. You don't have to have everything for the first day. As long as you're in Perth to start your first day, like it will be fine. If you miss the orientation, you miss it. And I was like, no, I need to be there. You don't understand. Like I need to be there. This is the biggest thing I'm ever doing in my life. Like I want to make sure. I think, you know, it's a different passion level. And so she said, look, you'll get information 2 weeks before you start, and your orientation will generally be a week before. I was like, okay, perfect. So I went on my holiday, I came back, I still hadn't heard anything, so I just sent an email to touch base and say, hey, look, like, I've got a baby, I've got to organize daycare or being at the grandparents' house, you know, what's the deal? And so I felt like I had to chase up for these details a little bit more, as where I feel like some other schools, you enroll, you sit the test, you get in, you get an enrollment pack, and your enrollment pack tells you, you know, like where you need to go, when your orientation will be, where you pick your uniforms up from, what books you need, and all that sort of stuff, as where IHNA does that at the orientation. So if you are enrolling with them and you don't have all of this information, it's fine, because you're going to do an orientation either in person, so you'll go there 1 week before, like a Monday or a Wednesday, and you'll do your orientation, so you'll see where you need to go, you'll see the classrooms, the facilities and whatnot, and then they will go through everything on that day. When you need your nurse kit by, what books you should get but you don't have to get, where you get your uniform from, they might have some there. Take a photo for your student ID, submit that so you get your student ID card, how to do your smart writer forms. Everything is covered at orientation, and if it's not, that's for you to ask your questions when they say, do you have any questions? If you write yourself a list of things you need to know and they don't cover it, you ask them. So basically, you know, within a couple of days, I got the email saying, hey students, welcome, congratulations, sorry it's taken so long. 2 orientation days are available next week on Monday or Wednesday, because Tuesday was a public holiday, it was Anzac Day, that's right. So pick a day, you don't have to tell us that you're coming, nothing. Basically, if you, by the end of that week, haven't attended either Zoom orientation or a face-to-face orientation, we will assume that you're not joining us. And basically, if you haven't made contact by that census date, then we'll assume that you've dropped your enrollment. So I, you know, spoke to my boss, which day would work better. Yeah, cool, you pick, whatever, awesome. So I planned everything to go on the Monday, because I was gonna have Tuesday off anyway. So I figured there's no point going to work for a day, have a day off, and then being off again. So picked the Monday, organized everything. Friday, I was leaving work, you know, I was like, don't forget, I'm not here until Wednesday next week. Yep, that's all good. On my way to, I was going to the hospital to meet my uncle, I get an email at 3:30 on a Friday, 2 days before my orientation day, saying, hi students, really sorry, due to a faculty change, we've had to cancel your face-to-face orientation and we are now doing it online. And we'll see you on your first day at campus on the 3rd of May. And instantly I was like, red flag, red flag, red flag. Now I'm telling you all of this because, again, like, it's the experience that I had. It wasn't make or break, but in this moment I was really upset, and I've given them feedback, they've worked on it, they've made things a bit easier, but it's just a communication thing. And I understand shit happens sometimes. People quit their jobs, people move on, people go, I can't work these days anymore. They're trying to change things around. What you have to remember going through these processes is you are not the only one. They have almost 300 people enroll and they can only take on 120 odd students. So, you know, that's a lot of paperwork, a lot of people processing, a lot of people to get back to. So I am a very patient person, luckily. However, when I got this email, I was like, no, like, that's so unfair. Like, what do you mean? And then I'm going, and why are you saying we start on Wednesday? We start on Monday. So I was ringing to get confirmation about that, not about the orientation. Couldn't have cared less. I was like, perfect, I'll sit in the Zoom, whatever. So I called the office and the guy that I spoke to was like, just FYI, I am not customer service or student support or whatever. I'm a BDM. I'm just the only one here to take the calls, so please be gentle. So that's fine. I said, but I just got this email about orientation being cancelled. He was like, yeah, we've got last minute exams for students that couldn't make it and had to finish their placement booked for next week now, which means we can't facilitate 120 people to come and do their orientation. So that's fine, that's all good, but what about the start dates? He's like, yeah, you start on campus on the 3rd of May. I'm like, but that's a Wednesday. Our campus days are Monday and Tuesday. Like, is this just for the first week? Like, what's happening? Anyway, so it was this massive back and forwards. Then, you know, I was like shaking. I was really anxious because for me, like, routine being changed is a big thing. And I've just organized people to look after my kid. I've changed daycare dates. I've literally moved heaven and earth to do this new thing for my new career. This is massive for me. I know that I'm just a number, but I was really upset. So I went, I did what I had to do. I came back out, I hadn't heard from them. So I rang him back and said, what's the go? And he was like, so I've just called my manager because he's not here today and he's the one that asked me to send the emails. And it looks as though the faculty that they had scheduled for your Monday, Tuesday classes can no longer facilitate you guys. So you've been moved to Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And I was like, you can't just do that. Sorry, my husband just got home from work and I got completely thrown off track for that 2 seconds. But yeah, so I was like, like we've got a whole life to uplift here. You can't just tell us this a week before we start school. Now at this stage, I had no contact with any other students. I had no idea who was going to be in my class. At this stage, I thought, and this is in a completely non-racial way because I was joining a school that is run by people of a different background, like the principal is Indian. There's quite a lot of foreign people, which is completely fine. I work in an industry where it's exactly the same, so that didn't bother me. What was bothering me was the fact that like this guy was getting upset at me because I was telling him how upset I was and I was about to be in tears. And I was being polite. I was just like, dude, like I know it's not your fault, but like I need something in writing. 2 seconds later, an email pops up. Hi Perth students, here's your new timetable. No sorry about the changes and nothing, just here's your timetable. Now, at the same time, when we did get to orientation, we'll divulge there in a second. No, I'm just gonna continue on with the email thing first. So basically, you know, here's your timetable, blah, 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 blah. We'll see you on Monday or Wednesday in your orientation and we'll explain further. And I was just like, this is not happening. Like, this is just not, I have just gone to my boss. I have basically said, fire me if you need to or tell me to leave, but this is what I can offer you. I want to make it work. Either it does or it doesn't, but that's all I can do. And he was like, no, that's fine. Let's make it work. And I know that he would have been fine if I had said, oh, lol, my days have now changed. I've got to change them again. But, you know, whatever. He didn't care. So it was fine because initially I was just going to be working Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. He even said like, just get to school and see what happens because you don't know what the study load's going to be like. You don't know if you're going to need more days off, like whatever. So, you know, that's what we were dealing with. We were all just on a let's just wait and see basis. So anyway, I figured, well, it's now 4:30 on a Friday. There's nothing I can do. I'm just going to log into this orientation on Monday morning and go from there. So my mum came down. She sat here Monday and basically, I think it was 9 o'clock it was supposed to start. So at like 8:40, I sort of just like put the Teams meeting in, you know, made sure everything loaded, my computer was charged and my speaker was working and everything like that. So I could then go and make my coffee and sit down and get myself ready and make sure mum was all sorted. And then like, as I logged in, people were already talking and doing things. And I was like, what the hell has happened? I already asked, like, is it Eastern Standard Time? Is it Western Time? So I just put a little thing in the chat. I was just like, hey, like I'm 20 minutes early, but it looks like I'm late. I was like, did I get the time wrong? And then they put a message out and said, hey Perth students, we're running this orientation on a cycle today. So this one's due to finish in about 20 minutes, half an hour, and then we'll restart from the beginning and welcome you all. But feel free to just sit in and listen. And I was like, oh, thank gosh, because that would have been the straw that broke the camel's back. So anyway, moving on, I took avid notes, I wrote everything down. Let me open it up. Nursing diploma. Yeah, so I took notes on who the Perth campus manager was, what the address was, the student resources available. So there's the student hub, which you get logins for, which is where you upload your assessments, find your assessments, speak to student support. You literally do everything in there. We use Canvas. If you haven't used Canvas before, Google it, get familiar with it. That's where all your units are, or your assignments are, unit guides, info, interactive learning, literally everything. It's basically school in an app. We use Zoom for online deliveries or Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Teams. If you haven't used Teams before, it's like MSN, basically a chat messenger service, but you can upload to communities, you can make teams. Anyway, it's things. They'll let you need your USI. We have computer labs on campus that are available to use from Monday to Friday, 8 till 5. As long as you're a student, you can rock up. You don't need a book. You just go and use the library. If you're taking absences, this is what you do. Basically, they were saying that once you start as a student, you do not take holidays. You don't book flights. You don't do nothing until you are 100% sure that between this date and this date, you do not have to study or be at school. Because for 18 months, they rule your life. That is literally what they said to us, and that is what I was standing by. They went through the delivery method, so face-to-face, what it's going to look like. Who do you see for general help, for academic support, for placement support? They were saying that you get free counselling if you need it. There's academic and IT support. There's a full library online and on campus. I haven't seen that yet though. I don't think there's physically books. I think there's just a general online thing, which they did a library orientation as well, but that got a little bit hectic because everyone was fighting. But anyway, we'll get to that. Assessments, they must be done as per the timetable, so you can download it when the unit opens, and you've got 2 weeks to get your assessment done and uploaded. If you don't, it has to be, an extension needs to be applied for. You have to submit it the night before the due date, not on the due date. They went through what SBTs and OSCAs were and how they have to be done before your clinical placement starts. So you can't start prac unless you have passed all of your assessments, all of your exams, everything is uploaded and you have been signed off. You get how many attempts you get for your assessments. Can you apply for more if you need it? If you need help, who do you go to? What the assessment types are, multiple choice questions, short answers, essays, case studies, group and individual presentations, exams, OSCAs, objective structured clinical assessment, you're welcome. SBTs, simulation-based training, demos and practice of clinical. We went through practical placements, what that looks like. 100% attendance is required at all times. 80% for classes and lectures, so just remember that. The learning objectives for your placement, so what's the minimum they're expecting you to do and try. You'll have 8-hour shifts, they might be mornings, afternoons, not really nights until you get to second and third semester. They can and will be anywhere over Perth. 120 hours for your first one, 120 for your second, 160 for your third. First one's aged care, second one's subacute, third one's acute care. So, I wrote all of this down. School scrubs must be worn 100% of the time on placement. You don't have to wear them to class, but if you have a uniform, you may as well wear it. I've only not worn uniform once, and that's because we had a half day. Student ID photo will be taken and given to you in the first week. You must wear it on you at all times. It gets you in the habit of wearing your badge reel and your ID, which is why I wear mine literally every day. Where you get your uniforms from, how many units per semester. Documentation required to go on placement, national police clearance, working with children's check, immunisation declaration. You have to take it to your doctor, get them to print off your MyGov list. If you don't have anything that's on the declaration form, get the vaccinations done. Get serology done if you're not sure. Minimum 3 COVID vaccines, get your flu jab, NDIS screening and orientation, hand hygiene certificate, infection control certificate, stat dec form to say that you have to do your ARPA registration yourself after. First aid and CPR has to be up to date. Manual handling certificate. Like I said, I literally wrote everything down. Canvas, they went through it's a learning management system, and it's, gonna have everything on there that you need. Library, you have to fill out an access library form, and then that gets submitted and whatever. They went through all the learning resources, so you've got unit guides, learner guides, recorded videos and lectures. So if you miss class but you watch the recorded lecture to catch up, that doesn't actually cover your attendance, so you have to physically go to class to get attendance. If you leave it a half day, that gets recorded, etc, etc, but it means you still can catch up if you miss a day, so it's fine. PowerPoint presentations, live lectures, recorded lectures, tutorials, simulations, discussion forums, textbooks and online learning materials. Then they gave us a book list and said, Tabner's nursing care is probably the most mandatory, but again, you still don't have to have it if you don't want to. Buy the digital copy, whatever. Here's some books we recommend that are going to help you. Ross and Wilson, Anatomy and Physiology in Health and Illness, version 14. Harvard's Nursing Guide to Drugs, 11th edition. I have it in my office. When someone says to me, these tools are going to help you get through this course, I will buy them. I'm a tangible person. Look at this. this is me to a T. I also went to the bookshop and bought another anatomy and physiology book because I like learning and I like pictures and I like to sit and actually look at things. So when I've just worked on yesterday for 4.5 hours straight and I need to finish today my human anatomy and physiology unit, I got most of my answers from the books. Like the things were in the lectures reference that they got the answer from this book. That's how I made my answers. Don't know if they're right yet, but that's where I got them from. I know that things like pharmacology are going to be hard. I know I'm going to love learning about it, but I need to see it right there in front of me. Yes, you can Google, yes, you can do things, but I like to still put it all together and have it tangibly there. So I went and bought all the books and they have come in tenfold. Your equipment, you need a basic vitals equipment, vitals kit, stethoscope, blood pressure, sphygmomanometer. So stethoscope, you know what that looks like, goes in your ears, has a little thing you put on someone's chest or their back. You can listen to heart sounds, percussion, all the rest of it. And then the sphygmo is the part that has the cuff that goes around their arm with the 2 tubes, and you pump it up, look at the gauge, and then you let it down, and that's how you do blood pressure. Those are the minimum requirements. You can buy as much or as little as you need to get you through. You can buy things as you go, you can buy it all up front. It doesn't matter as long as you have the minimum required. Now, I got from enurse.com.au, I'll put the little link here, the kit called the must-have kit. It was about $150 because when you sign up, you get $10 off, and it came with everything I could need for my enrolled nursing diploma. My stethoscope, my sphygmo machine, my sphygmo pump and gauge, an eye light, a thermometer, a little pouch for me to wear around my waist on placement to carry all of my stuff in, bandage scissors, a badge reel, ID card holders for me to put my IDs in and put them on my badge reels, a fancy pen that clips to your shirt, a little mini pocketbook that's a little Australian nursing guide to drugs. It came with some little clinical placement cards that also can attach to your badge that have little quick IV rate drips and stuff on them. So these things you'll use as you get further and further along. But this kit was like, well, it was $80 just to buy the stethoscope and the sphygmo, and then how much for me to buy all these other little bits and pieces together. So I did it as one. There's even some that are up to $300 that have even more. So it's up to you on what you feel comfortable spending. You absolutely don't need the best of the best. All of my little badge reels and stuff. So this is a badge reel. It's a little plastic thing, has a little belt clip. You can clip it to your shirt, you can clip it on your pants, you can slide it onto your pocket, literally whatever you want, but it does this. It's retractable because some buildings you've got to tag into. If you use a smart rider, you've got to tag on and off. Basically, this is what your student ID looks like. So it has your photo, your student number and your name and all the rest of it, which you guys know my name, so that's fine. Now, I got this little name badge that actually has a metal backing. So when I get to placement, I'll wear that on my shirt so I can put, you know, whatever else I need to in here or take this off. But basically I got it made on Etsy. And I'll put the name here, One Kind Studio, that I got it made from. And then I have all these cute little pins because I'm a little knick-knacky person, but I have about 20 of these different badge reels. I've got felt ones anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is you get one of these, a really basic one in your kit. Otherwise you can go on Etsy, Amazon, eBay, whatever, and you can buy heaps of little fancy fun ones. So that's that sort of information. So orientation gave me all of that. You know, so I started working on things straight away because again, I was like, well, while I have time, because once I get to school, it's going to be hectic. I might not have time to sit and do things if I'm going to be studying and doing exams. I may as well do stuff. So I smashed out like my hand hygiene certificate, my police clearance, my NDIS forms, working with children. I got so many things done before I started school to make my own life easier. And so that brings us to the end of the orientation. It was fine for me. I got all of that information. What was happening during orientation was people were only just finding out, and this makes me so sad because literally at least 16 to 20 people pulled out, dropped out there and then. They didn't see the emails. They hadn't got the emails for whatever reason. They didn't see that school days had changed, and some of them said, I will lose my job, there's absolutely no way, I have to pay my bills, I need to come to school on these days. That's fine, if it's not going to work, I'm just going to pull out. So a lot of people did leave that day, and it sucks, but it is what it is. I was lucky, my employer basically said, it's fine, I'd rather have you here, so do what you need to do. You know, daycare days could stay the same, but it just meant that instead of my kid being with my mum on a Monday, Tuesday when I was going to be at school, so I could just get up, go to school, do what I had to do, now he's there on those days, but the days I'm at school, it's like daycare drop off, Nonna drop off. And so our days are really long and really tiring, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm very, very grateful. And so anyway, with all that drama going on, you know, a few of us made a group chat, we met each other. It was just nice to have like someone to lean on going, oh, I'll meet you at school on the first day. Anyway, I went straight away after orientation that day on the Monday to the uniform shop, which was only 15-20 minutes from my house, and I picked up my scrubs and I was so excited. So I had a list of everything I needed to do. You know, I had my backpack ready to go. I'd bought all my bits and pieces. I knew I didn't need my textbook straight away, so I bought them online because they were a bit cheaper. And I was ready to go. I had all the information I needed. I felt so sorry for everyone else that was just still spending so much time hating on everything that had happened, you know, rather than actually taking the information down. Because still now, we're like, what, 6 or 7 weeks in, and people are still like, oh, what book is that you use? Where do you get it from? Or what's the ones that they told us about? And I'm just like, okay, you people need to write things down. So anyway, I compiled a list for my student friends, and basically I sent it to this group chat. I sent it to them on WhatsApp, wherever they wanted it, and said, don't ask the teacher any of these questions again, because it was all said, you just weren't listening, but basically here it is, and here's all the links. So everyone's a bit more chilled out now and whatnot. We've lost a few people along the way, but that happens. It is a lot harder than what I think most people have expected it to be. So we thought that would happen. But anyway, so still at this stage, I was one of the only like white Australian girls that was there. A lot of them are like Filipino, or there's a couple of African girls. But they're also amazing. Like, we just have the best class. Like, we didn't know on the day when we met each other if we were even going to be in each other's classes. So I've now met even other people that I hadn't met yet. And we've all become really close. So that was that. I left that day. No, actually, this brings me to the next annoying thing. By the end of orientation, we had settled with the fact that we will be attending school Wednesday and Thursday with a support session Friday or self-study day. What we also didn't know, and we got told on that day, which was really hard to try and figure out if you just can't take the time off or you have to work to make money, is that for the first 2 weeks of every semester, you have to attend school Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. every day. And each day, so there's normally, I don't know, 8 to 10 units per cohort, like per semester, so there's 25 units all up. Basically, each day is the intro to each new unit, so that you've got an idea of what's to come and what it's gonna look like, and you can get yourself set up, prepared, pre-watch lectures, whatever. And then each week, once you actually start on week 3, is a whole unit. So, for example, introduction to nursing. We did the intros for that on the first day. So let me go into, okay, well, the unit that we just done, confirm physical health status. So basically we did the introduction lectures to that on day 1. And then we didn't talk about it again until week 3, when it was the first unit that we were working on. So then we did session 2, 3, 4, and 5, and any activities and bits and pieces, and then you go off and do your assessments and assignments yourself. So basically it's 1 unit a week, and that can be quite a lot. And so basically, you know, other than that little hiccup, I was lucky that I was just like, fine, I can't work, it is what it is. You know, we just had to make it work financially, but I was able to just do what I needed to do. So got to the end of those 2 weeks and that was all fine, and no one's really talked about it again. So first day of school was great. I walked in, I was like, oh, we're not allowed coffee and stuff in class. I'll quickly stand in reception and scull my coffee. Like, I've still got 15 minutes. I've already checked the class list. I know that I'm in that room over there, so I'll just hang here for a second, then I'll go in. And then like this lady walked out. She was like Australian, blonde, like lovely. She was like, morning, how you going? I was like, hi, morning. She's like, oh, first day today. I was like, yeah, I've already found where I'm going. I was like, I'm just quickly trying to finish my coffee. She goes, don't bother. Are you in room 1? I said, yeah. She goes, bring your coffee in. We're all adults. It's fine. And I was like, oh my God, I love her. So anyway, I go in. I was like, don't get too excited. She might not be your teacher. She's probably just letting you know what's going on. And then she come in and she introduced herself. Hey guys, my name's Rose. I'm going to be your lecturer, hopefully for your whole diploma, but we'll see how we go. And I was like, thank you. Thank you. Now, it didn't matter what color skin she had, where she was from, what she did. Couldn't care less. I've met some of the other lecturers there that are from India, from Pakistan, from all over the world, and they are amazing. They are so knowledgeable. But in that moment, it just cemented for me that I wasn't going to be the only, like, I don't know, Caucasian, is that what you call us? Like white person there in the room studying with a bunch of people I couldn't understand. You know, then more and more people came in. There was like a Kiwi girl, another young Aussie girl, a few little Filipino girls that were all like talking to each other because they realized they're all Philippine, you know, and then it just kind of got more and more from there. And I was like, okay, this is fine. I'm going to be okay. And so pretty much that was it. I was like, okay, it's not a hoax. It's actually a school. They have great lecturers. People are nice. People are helpful. Let's just get through this 2 weeks. So over that 2 weeks, they did have to get student support to come in and talk to all the classes, you know, and just sort of like renege a few things as we went. Because people kept like running to student support when they finished class and be like, I've got credit transfers. I don't have to come here. Why isn't this approved? Why isn't that approved? And, you know, like I actually had to stand up after like 3 or 4 days of listening to this constantly. I felt so sorry for like the teachers and the student support people, because I'm like, how many times are they having to repeat this every day? And this is where I was saying before, like, we're not the only students. There is 300 odd of us with all the other classes combined. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of patience. Now, there is people who have done like a whole first semester of the EN before. Some of them have worked in aged care for years. They've got experience. They've done all the certs and credits and all the rest of it. However, what I've learned, and I'm hoping that this might be helpful if you work in aged care or as an AIN and you're potentially looking at going and doing your EN upgrade and you go, great, I've got credits already because I've already done some of the stuff, so I'll get some of that wiped. Firstly, if your English isn't that great, I suggest still coming in and sitting on the lectures for those weeks, because that face-to-face has helped so many people in our class already, and they all pretty much came in when they had credit transfers, which was amazing. Some people didn't, and that's completely fine. Credit transfers are literally for code to code. So if the code for your unit is HLTAAP002, that's on your credit transcript and that's what you're enrolling into, voila, you don't have to do it. If the code has changed since you finished studying maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and they've upheaved the curriculum and that class is now HLTAAP003, you have to do the unit, because it's not a credit transfer. You can't transfer something that doesn't match. It means that things have changed, there's more information, science has proved different things, you need to learn different things. So it's worth just redoing it anyway. A few people did go on about RPLs, so recognized prior learning. Now, I'm going to just put this straight, because I even had someone message me the other day and got narky at me when I told her what the meaning of it was, because she said she already knew this, and I'm like, so why are you asking me? I don't have any, I don't know. I said this from the start. But basically, my husband's going through the same thing at the moment. He did his apprenticeship 10 years ago. They told him he can get RPL, but like he said, well, yes, I've been working in the industry and doing these things for years, but textbook, how am I going to answer the questions? I don't know them. I haven't done the courses. So basically, recognized prior learning is if you have studied 6 months of this course before and then gone on to actually work and practice what you've learned, and you can prove that. Like, you have an employer that can say, yep, Jacob came and worked for me for 6 months. He was doing X, Y, and Z. I'm sure if you have an interview with him and question him, he'll be able to answer all those questions. Credit transfers, you've done the course is the same, bang, they match up, you don't have to do them. RPLs don't really exist unless you've practiced EN working. Like, it just, I don't think it can be any more clearer than that. You have to have proof of recognized prior learning. So you've learnt the stuff, but you have to practice it. You have to have practiced it and worked doing it. And even then, all it is, well, it's not all it is, you have to apply for an interview, you have to sit the interview, you've got to answer all the questions. You have to show them that it is worth them signing you off to say, yes, you have done it, don't worry about doing the coursework, move on to semester 2. And it's not that easy. The times are changing. Things that, like, you're dealing with people's lives. You're going out to save lives. It's not, you're not working on a car or something. No offense, Jake. And so, you know, it's one of those things where, yeah, like, you just, if they say no, it's for a reason. It's not because they're being horrible and they don't want you to do it. It doesn't matter for them how long you're there. Like, your diploma is paid for regardless. So just something to sort of take into mind. Like, I know that it's frustrating when you've already done it, but clearly you've come back because you need to finish it. And sometimes that means you do have to redo things. So just take it with a pinch of salt, learn again. You can never ever stop learning. The other thing is, like, when it comes to placements, you absolutely don't get to pick and choose. You get told who, where, what, when, and how, and you show up and you do it. If you are sick, you have to add a week on, because they don't just do a placement day of 1 day. Like, they take students on for weeks at a time. So if you miss a day, it's just, yeah, like, obviously if you get sick and you genuinely can't go, then fair enough. But yeah, you just need to be prepared for the fact that you may have to reset a whole week of placement, which is why, even though the first one's only 3 weeks, they allocate 5 weeks so that you can add on more time if you need to. And then it goes into your semester break too, so you could potentially carry over if you needed to. But they just tell you from the start, like, it can be anywhere. You may have to travel. There might not be accommodations. It might be out of pocket. Obviously, we're all fighting with the government at the moment for medical students to get some sort of incentive. Like, yeah, they're paying for our course, but we still have to go and pay our own way for 3 weeks to work for free in aged care or wherever we're working, for them to give us our practical sign off to say, yes, you've done this work. Like, I get it and I'm grateful for it. And yeah, it's going to be tight, but it's just something that we're going to have to save for. Like, it just is what it is. The way I look at it is, I'm only working 20 hours a week because I'm only allowed to work 20 hours a week with my grant being approved, because I'm studying technically 30 to 50 hours a week, you know, so I can't really work 2 things. And a lot of people kept their jobs and are now going, shit, I'm going to have to, like, drop down days or quit my job or something because this is too much. But basically, you know, I just go, okay, cool, well, I need to save whatever 3 weeks of my pay would have been. Well, I've got, like, a lot of more time to do that. So it's just being prepared. And I know not everyone can do that, but it just takes some planning ahead. And you have to remember, nobody, absolutely nobody, asked you to apply to do this course, sat down, made you sign a form and sign your life away. So if you are running into issues that are like this and on this sort of scheme of things, you absolutely can't complain. Literally get up and leave. No one is forcing you to stay there. And it might sound really blunt and like a bit rude of me to say that, but when, as another student, like, I've uplifted my whole life to come and be here, and I'm spending 2 hours of my day sitting there listening to everyone complain about how, but I've got bills to pay and I've got this. Well, like, we all do, but no one forced us to do this. And if you got an email saying, oh, you can come and do this TAFE course for free, you should do it, and you signed up not knowing what you were getting yourself into, that just seems like really shitty luck or a really crappy thing to do. So yeah, I don't know. I just feel like becoming a nurse or a doctor or something like that is a really big thing that you don't just wake up and go, oh yeah, I'm gonna go do that. That looks fun. So yeah, that's just my personal view on it, because you are taking time out of class for everyone else if you're gonna sit there and constantly complain about the fact that your credit transfer didn't go through, or this didn't go through, or that didn't go through, or you have to do this, or you've got to pay for that. Like, we're all in the same boat, literally. And it's just going to be one big sinking ship if everyone's constantly complaining. So if you are signing up to study full-time for something, you generally will have to think about the fact that, well, hey, if I'm studying full-time, even though it's only 2 or 3 days on campus, there's probably going to be a lot of homework. So I should probably let my employer know now that, hey, there might come a time where I need to rein it in and cut my hours down. That's it. Have the conversation, figure yourself out, start saving now. You know, you might go, oh, okay, well, if I got to do this, I might not be able to start for 6 months because I need to work full time for 6 months to save a bit more money to cover my ass or to pay my things or to do this, to do that. this whole grant and free tuition isn't going to be here forever. So, you know, you might not get that and you may have to pay for your course, and it's expensive. I didn't know that it costs almost 30 grand to become an enrolled nurse. So if I was signing up for that without all these grants, I probably would have been like, yeah, okay, maybe not. Maybe I'll just wait and try and get into uni so I can use HECS. But, you know, I still have that for when I get to that. So grateful, very, very grateful. I'm going to take a little breather and have some lunch and think about anything else that I need to answer. And then I'm going to go through the questions I've been sent. And then we're going to call it a day. Okay, I don't know why I thought my husband was standing in the pantry the whole time waiting for me to stop talking, but he wasn't. He's in the garage. So anyway, again, I just want to reiterate, I'm not here to portray like the school one way, or that like students are this and that and the other, rah, rah. I'm just here to share with you what has been my journey so far, what has happened, the things that I've seen and witnessed, and hoping that I can give someone else some clarity to make your transition easier. So I'm going to now go through, because I've covered off, you know, my school enrollment, my orientation, all of the information I've got, what it looks like, what you need to do, what you should ask, what you shouldn't ask, what my introduction to going to school has been like. The classes are amazing. Adult learning is so much fun. I cannot, like, I've made so many friends. We've had new students join because they had so many drop out, or like people were just like, wow, this is really hard, I can't do this. So they actually brought some students forward from July that had credit transfers for the first 2 units that they missed. And one of them's now one of my closest friends. So it's really, really cool. We've done a lot in a short period of time, and most of the days my desk looks like it does right now, which I'll show you maybe before we hang up. But anyway, so I'm going to go through and just share with you some of the main questions that I get. One of them is more about my studying. So this one said, like, I'm also studying to be a midwife. Your notes always look amazing. Do you do it on an iPad or a tablet? And can you share with me what the app is? And then I shared a TikTok of it as well. And same thing, people were just like, what is this? How do you do it? So basically I use an iPad Pro. I also have my HP laptop as well, but I wanted something where I could look at my lectures and take notes as I go, that's like pen to paper, because I want everything to be stored digitally, because obviously as I go, I want to have access to it. And even though I still have notebooks and textbooks, I just have all the information I need right here, and I can download my textbooks. There is a brand called Elsevier. I think that's a publishing company. So a lot of the books I've bought have been published through them. And when you buy the book, it comes with the free ebook, which is amazing. So I'm also going to have them stored on here somewhere as well. But basically, I have an iPad Pro with the new chip in it, so it works really fast, really quick. And I use the app called GoodNotes. GoodNotes 5 is what it's currently up to. And basically, it looks like this. Sorry about the glare, but yeah, you open it up and it shows you all of your folders and documents. So I have folders for my personal things, which will have just like a journal where I make all my YouTube art and bits and pieces. If I buy stickers for my iPad, I put them in there. I've got one for work where I have my work diary, my work journal, where I write down all my tasks for work. And then I've got nursing school. Now, I have made a workbook for every unit so far, and this has worked well for me because I can drop the PDF of the lecture. So it comes as like a PowerPoint presentation, but you can save a PDF copy. I drop it straight into here. So then in each workbook, I've got everything we've done on that unit so far, any documents, any handouts, any, you know, charts for us to have a play with, literally anything stays in that one file. So we're going to go into confirm physical health status. So you can see this is what my books look like. Sorry, it's a bit glary because I'm in front of the window. But basically, this one is how many pages long so far? Okay, this one's 564 pages long. There's about 5 lectures in there, a bunch of handout books, some unit guides. Obviously it's human anatomy and physiology, so it's a lot, but basically, you know, I can add diagrams, I can label things as I go. So here's one of the brain I prepared earlier. So all of this is my writing, and I actually traced the brain and colored it in myself and relabeled it because I'm a visual learner. That's how I learn. So I love it because as she's talking, I'm taking notes on here, things that aren't on the slide that she's saying, because I think, well, they're probably going to come up in the exam. She will also say, here is something that you need to know, or this is just something that a good nurse would know. So I actually have 2 note pages in each unit, and I go through and write down, look at this, look at this, look at this, or, you know, research this more as you go on further. So that's how I keep everything. I download my lectures before I go to school, or sometimes I get to school early and I just download them into this workbook ready to go. And then, yeah, like I can go in and tidy my notes up, which is how I study. So I tidy everything up, I re-highlight things, I add new slides, like whatever I need to do. And then when it comes to exams, I basically do an exam revision sheet, which could be 2 or 3 pages long. And I get all of this information from the list that I've written down every time she has said, here's something you might need to know. She never gives us the answer, but she tells us, like, you should be paying attention to what a neuron is and how you would label it, or the different levels of the skin, or the different systems of the body, or the cell levels, like so many different things. So then that's what brings me to these beautiful colored pages. And basically I have some text that I've copy and pasted and inserted, because it literally has list and structured definitions of what it is we think might come up. And then I highlight everything I need to know, and I find ways to fundamentally remember the levels and what order they go in and what they do. You know, I put in little diagrams and I label them. You know, all the different systems, I put a little picture in there, because you get these tiny little pictures, these little PDF stickers off Etsy in packs, and you save them and you can just add them to every page as you go. So, you know, that's what works for me. Not everyone is a visual learner like this, and I get it, but GoodNotes 5, pen and paper, it's amazing. Love it so much. Best investment I did was getting this iPad for school. So, you know, it's good because I can sit there and scroll through and search through. That's the best part. Whether I've handwritten something or it's typed into a PDF that I've saved in these workbooks, I can search that whole app with one word, and whether I've handwritten it or it's typed, it will show me every page in that whole app that has those words related to it, and then I can find information, which is how I study. And then I type on my computer at the same time. So that's about what I use. A few people have messaged me and said that they can't wait to watch my journey. They've also gone from doing enrolled nursing to their RNs. You know, if I need anything to let them know. So that's great. I've got quite a lot of support there. Most of them sound like this. Hey, I'm starting at IHNA in June, July, August, whatever. Just wondering, what kind of things did you have to buy for the course? I would like to start preparing beforehand. That's amazing. And my reply will always be, aren't you so lucky that you can message me and ask me, because I didn't know any of this. And then, you know, I spend time sending them, you know, big messages with links going, this is what you need. You good?
Sorry.
You know, because it's nice to have that information, and I wish that I had that before I started, because I would have loved it. So I give them links to the books, I give them the information for the uniform shop, I send them links to, you know, eNurse. A lot of them, how's the campus? How many days do you have to visit if you're online or if you're on face-to-face? How do you manage with a baby? Is there any facilities in the campus to keep your baby with you? Can you put mine in, please?
Alright.
Oh, thank you. How are the professors and everything so far? So I think a lot of this I've covered, except for like the baby situation. It depends how much support you have. We use daycare, and obviously we have grandparents, so we're covered there. When I study, it's generally during this time of the day when I'm not filming. You know, Jake's home, he's just got home from work, but Arthur sleeps during the middle of the day. That's when I'll study during the week if I have him and I need to study. Fridays, I have the day off, but he still goes to daycare, so that's a full study day. This week, I went and sat at the library and actually studied, and it was just so much better for me. So yeah, I guess that's a really hard question, is how do you do it with a baby? You have to be proactive and productive, and if you just know that you're not motivated and you can't make it happen, maybe you need to look at full-time care, so you can go to school, and then the days that you also don't have bub, you would then obviously use those as your study days. So yeah, lots of different things, but yeah, again, the lectures are amazing, the professors are amazing. There isn't any facilities on campus for your baby, unfortunately. there's a couple of different levels in the building, and the higher up the levels go, the better they get, because obviously they're newer. So as people move out, the school like buys another level. So the facilities are a bit newer upstairs, and you can still go and use them, so it's fine. Another one, hey, I found your videos on TikTok. I'm looking at going into the same institute as you. I'm super excited. Do you have any advice for beginners? My advice is always going to be, hey, I was super green, so not really, because I didn't have any experience, but that's genuinely how I start. You know, do you have any background in nursing at all, aged care or anything? If you don't, then that's good, because you've got no expectations. You're going into it completely gung-ho, excited, ready for a new start. I just explained that like the people that seem to have issues, and where I see the most issues popping up, is people that have credit transfers or want to do RPLs, and then they get told no, and obviously they get a bit upset, but that's literally it. Sometimes communication is a little bit patchy, in the sense that you might get 4 or 5 emails about the same thing. Just ignore it. You just get used to it. Yeah, a lot of people complain about like the homework and the assignment levels. It's full-time study. I don't understand why they can be upset about it. Like, you knew, again, you signed up for it, so you knew what you were getting yourself into. But you won't know the study load unless you start, because what I'm doing now might change again in 6 months' time. So who knows? Hi Hayley, congratulations on your new exciting journey as an EN. I'm also interested in the course, however, I've read some bad reviews. So when I said before we'd come back to this, it looks like a couple of foreign students had a little bit of an issue with not being able to understand and like participate as much as they could, so they cancelled, and they didn't have a grant, which means they tried to get a refund for their money, and because they were X amount in, the school obviously refused it, or I don't know what happened, but anyway, there was this huge drama. It was kind of like publicized in a really shitty way towards the school. The school handled it really well, but this person then got like every family member to go and write a bad review on Google. So then people were seeing these, because when I was looking, the only shitty reviews I saw every now and again was that like sometimes you've got foreign students and foreign teachers, and they just clash a little bit because like they don't understand them and they don't understand them, so they feel a bit unsupported and blah blah blah. But other than that, I was just like, well, I can speak really great English, so I think I'll be okay. And I took the chance, and I'm so glad that I did. When I contacted the school, the male admin was a little rude and cut me off on a few occasions. Again, I don't know, I can't speak for them. Everyone I've spoken to has been amazing. Sometimes when you're speaking to people from a foreign background, like they're just not as personal and like, hey, how you going? Like they don't have time for that. I get it. But yeah, another one, would you mind sharing your experience in the admission process? I've already done that. So, yeah, most of the questions are all based around that. They're all very, very similar. So anyway, I hope that this has been helpful. If there's anything that you feel like you still would like to know and need to know, please just like find me on socials, send me a message, leave me a comment here, whatever you like. But I really love studying there. I'm having a great time. Like I said, I think it's one of those things where you might be the kind of person that's like, I need to do X to pass, and that's enough. You might be like me and go, I want to know everything there is to know about everything. And you'll overstudy and you'll overdo it because you know that you have to. The most daunting thing is how big some of the short answer assignments are. So as an example, I always print them out so I can see them. And, you know, so this one is like 3 pages long. It's only, I think, 15 questions. 12 questions. However, some of the questions have 4 different things in there that you've got to answer about, you know, so it might say, describe the following life processes in human beings: metabolism, nutrition, pathogens, inheritance. So you have to answer that question, but for each different system. Then you get to this one, describe the structure and function of the below body systems. So it's broken down into 11 parts, and you have to answer that question for each one. There is word counts with some of them, but they're not that strict. It's just more if you're going to uni after, you really want to work on trying to stick to that, because it's good to get into the habit of it now. You know, this one has 12 parts to the question. Here's the body system. Find one common disorder, a problem or complaint, and a sign and a symptom for that disorder for this body part. So, you know, it can get quite long and tedious, and, you know, you have this open on Word and you kind of put all your answers in there. and then you upload them individually into the answer boxes on the website when you're logged into your Student Hub. You know, and you could spend 4, 5, 6 days on this, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours at a time each of those days to upload it, and then the next day get a reply back being like, satisfactory, well done. And you're left sitting there with crickets going, just well done. What do you mean? Like, I did really well. I put my whole life and soul into that. So anyway, like I said, you put as much time and effort into it as you can and want to. Some people are just like, who cares? I'll pass. It'll be fine. If I don't, I get another attempt. That's all well and good. I'm just someone that tries to pass the first time round because I don't have time to waste. Why did I just do that? That was weird. Anyway, I don't have time to waste. I don't have a lot of spare time as it is between studying and doing other things. So I want to get it right the first time. There are so many tools and things you can use online. There's apps like Grammarly to do your citations, which is your reference, because you do have to use APA referencing, but it's not super strict. It's to get you to learn and get in the habit of it, and not just, you know, if it's something where you couldn't just think of the answer and make something up based on what you've learned so far, well, you've obviously had to like Google or read a book to get the answer, so you've got to put where you found the answer. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say. I really didn't want this to be a super long video, so I'm gonna cut it off there. But again, like I said, good luck, even if you're not studying at my institution, but you're just trying to see what it looks like studying their nursing diploma. Like, hopefully this might have given you some information. There's some really great schools and facilities in Australia, and you don't need to go to like TAFE specifically, or, you know, Australian colleges or open colleges. Like, you can go wherever you feel comfortable, as long as it's a registered training organization. For me, this is my pathway to uni, so I could just be like, oh, do enough to pass so I can get on with it. What's the point? I'm still gonna be there for 18 months. It's not gonna make it go faster, so I may as well learn so I can be the best version of myself being a nurse that I know I can be. And the fact that I get to work as an EN whilst I'm upgrading to my RNs and midwifery is amazing, because I'm going to have so much experience by the time I finish my degrees. So if you've watched this far, thank you so much. If you have any more questions, like I said, feel free to hit me up. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next one.